Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master, and as the Steam Winter Sale has closed down, let's take a look at the games I bought from the store and see if they're worthy of me keeping just from the first hour or so of me playing. You see, Steam has a refund policy, and I don't think a lot of people even know about it. You got 2 weeks to play, and you have to play the game less than 2 hours. If you meet those criteria, you can apply for a refund and usually get your money back. So if you got your eye on a game and you're not quite sure whether or not to get it, you can pick it up, try it, and then get your money back by applying for a refund if you don't like it. Anyways, let's check out all the loot. I spent a good chunk of money on these, but not a lot. Anyways, let's start checking out some of these games I got and letting me give you a quick opinion on them, whether or not I refunded them or not. Yeah, this one I refunded pretty quickly after playing it a while. I want people to know it's not a bad game. The problem is, it's not exactly very good, at least compared to previous versus Capcom games from the past. Here's the problem. You see this game I'm showing you right now? This is Ultra Marvel vs. Capcom 3. See how pretty it is? See the 3-on-3 fights? See the fact that it has Wolverine, one of the characters thought of most when you think of Marvel Comics? Now take a look at this. Half the cast has been cut out and thrown away, all due to the fact that Disney has had a little spat with Fox, which, by the way, they now own, and a lot of the great characters people like to play as in the past have been cut down. Also, take a look at the graphics. They're just plain generic. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had a comic book feel to it. This does not. I'll give them a credit for adding in a story from what I have played, but the story seems to be pure fan fiction. Can I say it's ironic that DC's Injustice storyline is far more engaging than the Marvel storyline for a change? Add in a more simplistic battle system, and yeah, it's not as good as Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or 3, unfortunately. I will probably rebuy this game somewhere down the road when it's at a much cheaper price point. Sorry, no real footage of this game, folks, and it's just the way Disney set it up. It's really piss poor. None of my capture software really worked on it. It uses an emulator, I guess, called Scum DM, which the old LucasArts games, that's what the program they ran on was called, Scum Engine. But it's not exactly an emulator, as it takes parts of that Scum engine and helps recreate them for more modern day consoles. Helps with the sound problems, I guess, that you would get in Doc's box. Anyways, I don't really recommend this game, and it's not that it's a terrible game. What I played was kind of enjoyable, was kind of goofy. However, I hear that it was an unlockable bonus in the Day of the Tentacle, which I already owned, haven't really played yet, but which I've already owned. And on top of that, during at least this last winter sale that has come and gone, Day of the Tentacle was actually cheaper to buy than Maniac Mansion, so 2-for-1 deal for a lot cheaper price. If you bought this game on the Steam Winter Sale, I would suggest refunding it right now, even though it is too late to go pick up Day of the Tentacle for a cheaper price than it. But the 2-for-1 and Day of the Tentacle looks like it's a much better made point-and-click adventure. Yes, I own this one already on consoles, and it was actually one of the very first YouTube video reviews I ever did. I'll try to put up a card in the corner for you guys so you can go back and watch it. I have improved a little bit since the good old days, maybe not much, but a little bit. Anyways, Dust and Elysian Tail to me is a really great game, and when I heard the PC port cranked up the resolution a few notches, I decided to check it out while it was around $3. I love the animation in this game, and while the storytelling may be a bit cliche, it's still a lot of fun. Throw in some Metroidvania aspects and you have a really fun game, and it's one of those games like Axiom Verge where one guy did 90% of the work. So if you haven't tried this game, you like games like Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Super Metroid, you might want to check this one out. After playing Tomb Raider Legends for about a half an hour, I decided I would keep this. After all, I spent only 95 cents on it. It's an old action platformer for sure, but I was enjoying the story and the action sequences. Is it as good as the Tomb Raider reboot games? No, but it looks like I got my dollar's worth that I purchased it at. The controls are pretty good, and the environments and designs, given the age of the game, still look pretty decent. I could see myself having some fun with this game. Alright, after struggling with some bad controls and finally figuring out exactly what in Steam caused the problem, I was finally able to sit down and actually play the game. And what do I think of it? It's actually a pretty decent dungeon crawling and action platformer game. And I am intrigued with this game's stories, starting with the explosion of Croft Manor and Laura's friends turning on her. We skip back a few weeks and watch the story unfold as Laura starts to believe that her missing parents might be stuck in some sort of other world and is looking for answers in some ancient tombs. Put in an immortal Atlantean lady, and this is probably one of the first games I'm going to be going through that I purchased during this winter sale. I love the original BlazBlue, and so far from what I played here, I'm going to enjoy this. I only played about 10 minutes of this, but so far the action is still smooth. I'm disappointed that they don't have the special move shortcuts mapped to the right analog stick, but it seems like they added in a simple mode for the controls. Haven't tried that yet, unfortunately, but I would have preferred just a more technical control layouts for the regular moves, and then maybe doing the hyper finishing moves mapped to an analog stick or a single buttons, as those are the ones I always have problems doing. Regular fights and regular special moves I have no problem doing. I don't like simple combo mechanics at all, though. People who get good at fighting games do so because they practice and study and should be rewarded for such. And while I don't mind some rules being bent for newbies to be able to keep up, when you turn it into nothing but button mashing, that I have a problem with. I'll take a deeper look into this when I actually play the game. But what I found is still a lot of fun, and considering how I only paid a few dollars for it, I'm going to keep it. This is another game I purchased at over $20 on the winter sale. And what do I think of it so far? It's a really charming Mario 64 knockoff, and I mean that in a good way. Tapping into Mario 64 and Banjo-Kazooie, this charming platform has a small kid going through various worlds to pick up small timepieces, solve puzzles, and do platforming. The graphics are cute, it's definitely charming, and it's worth the price on sale or at full price. This is an indie gold game in my book. Okay, I had to do a little bit of homework on this one and make sure I wasn't giving too much money to the Dark Lords of the Sith known as EA Games. Even if it was from the time where they weren't known as being the biggest douchebags in gaming and were actually a small but growing company that were about innovating games and not so much as, well, you know. Fortunately, it doesn't seem that they have much to do with this being on Steam, but rather it involves the people who made BioShock. At any rate, this one's a keeper only because from what it looks like, it seems to be interesting, even if it is very user-unfriendly. Anyways, there are two versions packaged into this one. The first one plays on DOSBox, and the other one, I guess, just runs regularly on Windows 10 and has some small enhancements. I really recommend the DOSBox one. While the controls are old and clunky in both, I found that they were more manageable in DOSBox, which is surprisingly. Still, it has some good ideas as you're aboard a station where the AI has gone completely evil and taken control of everything, and you have to find a way to survive and stop it. There's some good ideas for a decent horror game, and it was made by Origin, which was at the time one of EA's top studios, and they were cranking out little gems called Wing Commander. That is, of course, in the past, as EA does what it does to all third-party companies. They manage to buy out, take them, use them, and then dispose of them. I think Origin closed down several years ago. It didn't take me long to definitely see that Fairy Fencer F comes from the same two developers that brought us Hyperdimensional Neptunio, both the good and some of the bad. The good is some of the really witty writing done in a visual novel concept, and the bad is, well, we still have the same generic looking dungeons from what I've seen, and the same combat system, which is not terrible, but at the same time isn't anything to write home about. But seeing how the duo that heads the game are two opposite sex people, hopefully we'll get some more character development and humor that is lacking in the all-female cast of the hyperdimensional Neptunia series. I wouldn't pay $30 for it, but for $3 I'm keeping it. Oh, and speaking of the Neptunia series, I also managed to pick this one up for only $12, and from what I have played, it's a huge step up from what I have played in the other two Neptunia JRPGs. We actually start out in an actual different world, and it's a dystopian future that is on the verge of ruin, where we see this idiotic Neptune and her sister get dropped in and cause trouble for the obvious representation of the Sega Dreamcast. And from what I played, I've enjoyed it. I got plenty of laughs, some really great game-related humor, and some good jokes. Let's just hope they take it easy on the fan service, because that's what can ruin these games. Speaking of not taking it easy on the fan service, is Hyperdimensional Neptunia U Action Released, created by Tamsoft, the same people who made Blank plus Neptune vs. Zombies game that I reviewed last year. I got this for $3, and quite frankly, I got what I paid for it. There's not much in a way of story at all, but what there is good and really funny, which is what I would definitely take over the Plus Zombies, which had a lot of story. All of it was boring crap. Didn't really get a laugh out of me with zombies. As far as the fan service goes, I'm going to be talking about that when I do a full review, because there's a lot to talk about it in this one. But I did enjoy this one more. While the stages are based on past Neptune areas and dungeons in this one instead of the new ones like zombies, I still enjoyed using the characters more. In other words, I couldn't just select Uni and be completely overpowered. I would not recommend this game at $30 at all. At $3, I got my money's worth, but I wouldn't pay anything more than that for this one. This was $10 on the Steam sale, so I bought it because I could resell my PSP copy, which I got for $10 several years ago, brand new. But that's when I realized I made a really dummy move. A few years ago, wanting to play a PSP game, I removed the wrapper from this. Never got time to actually putting it in the system and playing it. Removing a dime's worth of cellophane wrapper just cost me more money than I spent during the Steam Winter Sale, considering how much this game goes new and completely unopened. Anyways, this game is somewhat familiar to another JRPG I reviewed a couple of months ago, but that one was complete crap. This one, however, takes the idea and actually shows what you can do with it in a game like this, with just loads of customization of your characters, your magic, and your battle strategy, actual hard battles that actually require real tactics, and some well-written characters. From the hour I played, I was actually really enjoying this game. Can't wait to be able to sit down and play it in full. Out of all the games I have bought during the winter sale, this was probably one of the more expensive ones at $20. But I'm looking at getting a really decent JRPG out of this one, and this one does look to be it. I haven't tried any of this series yet, but from what I played, it looks like it has a decent character building and equipment building system, and using the alchemy, and has some really decent characters in it up front. Well guys, that's it for this time. Thank you for listening to this video. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below.